So you asked for it, and here we have it. We have swapped the hex pipe. Instead of having the X in the front and the H in the rear, we've got the H in the front and the X in the rear. Now let's talk about why we went with the X up front and the H in the rear originally, and in theory. So when your motor is running, you're firing bank 1 and bank 2, it's alternating from side to side. As that exhaust comes into your exhaust manifold and travels through your exhaust system, you're gonna have a pulse and a pulse. The theory with the X-pipe is to utilize the pulse from this bank to cross over to this bank. When it passes over, it's going to try to increase the velocity of the exhaust. As we know, engines are big air pumps. The quicker you can get air in and out, the more horsepower in theory you're gonna make. So that's why X-pipes typically make more horsepower and have more of a raspier sound, as it's helping scavenge and pull the exhaust from the non-firing bank down the exhaust tubes. Now the H-pipe doesn't quite work the exact same. It's just a crossover. What it's trying to do is equalize the pressure in each bank. So we've looked online and everything seems to point out you want the X up front. But once again, we're talking theory. That's what it says. Here, we like to prove a theory or disprove a theory by testing it. So we've swapped them. Is the H gonna now be the more dominant sound because it's up front? Is it gonna lose power because we're not speeding up the velocity until after the H crossover? We don't know. You guys asked, it was one of the most popular comments or questions, was, well, what happens if you flipped it? So we flipped it. It's on S550, so let's see not only what it sounds like, but did it make more power? Did it lose power? Let's find out. All right, let's get straight to it. You heard how the H-pipe was a little quieter with the H first than the X first, although I don't have a finely tuned ear, so they sound pretty similar to me regardless. Looking at the numbers here, the yellow is going to be with the X installed prior to the H. The green is going to be the H first and then the X. Kind of looks the same as the X versus the H pipe. And from everything we've been seeing and reading online, a lot of that's true. You're going to get the performance and the sound of whatever crossover is first. So with the green being the H first, we're going to expect it to make a little bit more torque down low, which is exactly what it did. Once you get above 4,000 RPMs, once the cams start moving, now the pipe with the X in the front is actually shining, and it does make some good horsepower over the H in the front. Okay, so here's the whole story. We got a lot going on here. It looks like it's all bunched together. Basically, anytime we added a secondary crossover, whether it was the H first or the X first, it made a little bit more power. In fact, it shows that both the X first and the H first made the best numbers of all these pipes, but they're kind of jumbled together, which basically shows that at the end of the day, it all comes down to your preference. Which sound do you like the best? It's not like adding long tube headers or even an axle back where you're going to be making good gains. The gains are minimal, but they are different. And in our mind, when you have the H pipe first, you're getting the sound of just an H pipe about 80% of the time. When we had put the X first and then the H, it almost seemed like it was a 50-50 split. Now, is that because we're trying to speed up the air by having the X first? I'm not really sure, but that's the one that shines at the end of the day. That's the one that we're currently in production on, but a lot of cool data here, seeing what worked, what didn't. What did you think? What exhaust sounded the best? What combination on the 2015 and the 2024? Now, we've been skimming through all those comments, and it looks like a lot of you out there with a 3-valve would like us to try something for your application. So that might be something we're trying next. If not, drop us a line. What would you like to see this style exhaust on? Preferably a Ford vehicle, because that's what we do here at Steeda. So hit like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and remember, Steeda, where speed matters.